Hi boys and girls! This week we're going to continue making connections in reading and converting measurements in math. Last week in math we practiced making tables to show the relationships between different units of measurement. We looked at length, weight, capacity, and time. Now this week we're going to use that information to solve real-world problems. And to do that, we have to visualize or imagine what's happening in a problem. So today, I want to share a page from the book Bedtime Math by Laura Overdeck. It will help us visualize and solve a real-world problem. A large cucumber or bag of potatoes can get really heavy. That's because veggies are made mostly of water, and water itself is pretty heavy. The veggies at your store, though, are just normal-sized ones. This, for example, is a squash. It's called a zucchini. And you can find these at the grocery store. I did. But in places like Alaska and northern Canada, where the summer sun shines for 16 to 20 hours every day, fresh vegetables grow to be enormous. Carrots can grow 2 feet long, and squashes can weigh hundreds of pounds. Okay, so this is a foot. 12 inches is a foot. So if you have a ruler at home, that's 1 foot. Can you imagine a carrot that was as long as 2 rulers? That's really big. And squashes like zucchini, 200 pounds, hundreds of pounds. This is about 1 pound worth of squash, just a little over a pound. Can you imagine one single squash that was hundreds of these? So huge. But the largest pumpkin ever grown tipped the scales at over 1,000 pounds. Taking one of those home from the grocery store has to be a challenge. Whatever you do, don't drop it on your foot. Okay, so let's think about those pumpkins, those 1,000-pound pumpkins. So huge. A car, for example, might weigh about 4,500 pounds. Not every car, but some car might weigh 4,500 pounds. How many of those 1,000-pound pumpkins would you need to outweigh the car? That's not too tough. 4,500, we just have to get above that. If every pumpkin is 1,000 pounds, it would take me 5 of those 1,000-pound pumpkins to be heavier than a car. Okay, here's a tougher question. Which weighs more, a 1,000-pound pumpkin or a 5,000-ounce carrot? That's a tougher question, right? You have to know something about ounces and pounds to answer that one. Remember that we learned that 1 pound equals 16 ounces. So 1 times 16 is 1 pound, right? So if I want to figure out how many ounces are in 1,000 pounds, I can just multiply 1,000 pounds times 16 ounces. Or add those 16 ounces 1,000 times. Now that's a lot of adding. Multiplying is way easier here, so that's what I'm going to do. Okay, because I understand place value, I know what to do with these zeros. 16 times 0 ones to 0. I'm going to write my answer down here. 16 times 0 tens, 0. 16 times 0 hundreds, 0. 16 times 1,000, 16,000. Okay, so one 1,000-pound pumpkin would weigh 16,000 ounces, which is very clearly greater than a 5,000-ounce carrot. All right, your math problems today are going to get a little more challenging than this. Make sure you use your conversion charts when you need them to help you solve those problems. Now, all this talk about vegetables made me think of a fable I once read, one of Aesop's fables, in fact. And since this week in reading we're making connections, I'd like to read it to you today. Now, remember that when we're connecting to a text, we might connect to ourselves, to the lessons the characters are learning, or their feelings or behaviors. We might connect it to something else we've read, another text. Maybe the relationships between the characters, or the themes in the story, the message in the story. Or we might connect it to the world around us, events that we've seen happen, maybe history that we've learned, or things that are happening in our school or in our community right now. So I want you to think about those today as we read. Now, Aesop, he may have been a Greek storyteller who lived more than 2,000 years ago, but his history is a little unclear. In fact, he might not have been a real person at all. But whether he was a man or an invented character, Aesop told stories called fables. They're short stories with a moral or a lesson. And even though those stories are ancient, they hold morals that we can apply to our lives today. So this story is called The Farmer and His Sons. A rich old farmer who felt he had not many more days to live called his sons to his bedside. "My sons," he said, "listen to what I say. Do not sell our land that has belonged to our family for so long. Somewhere on it is hidden a rich treasure. I don't know the exact spot, but it's there. You'll surely find it. Spare no energy and leave no spot unturned in your search." Well, the father died, and no sooner was he in his grave than the sons set to work digging with all their might, turning up every foot of ground with their spades and going over the whole farm 2 or 3 times. No hidden gold did they find, but at harvest time, when they had settled their accounts and had pocketed a rich profit, far more than any of their neighbors, did they understand that the treasure their father told them about was the wealth that came from their crops, and that their hard work, they had found treasure. The moral of the story is industry is itself a treasure, or hard work is its own reward. Now, I'll bet some of you can relate to that personally. Have you ever found that you did something where you learned a lesson about hard work being worth it? Or felt as the sons must have felt, working hard, or maybe behaved in the way that they behaved? I can certainly understand why they would have went to work at once and tried so hard to find that treasure that their dad told them to find. Do you relate that to any other books you've read? Have you ever read about other characters who have worked hard, looking for some kind of reward, maybe a treasure or maybe some other kind of reward, or that had similar relationships to each other, to their parents? Maybe something that's happened in the world where you've seen other people come together and work hard to meet a goal. Whatever those connections that you make, remember, when we make connections to a text, we understand it better and we can enjoy it more deeply. I hope you enjoy your studies this week. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask, and I'll see you later.